Before the United States had a navy, it had a captain, a single audacious captain who, to the British, was more pirate than professional. This is the story of how one man's nerve and revolutionary thinking basically dragged the American Navy into existence, laying the foundation for what would become the most powerful fleet in world history. His name was John Paul Jones, and his story proves that sometimes, the future isn't built by a committee, it's built by the sheer will of one defiant person. He wasn't born a hero. Far from it. He was born John Paul, a gardener's son in Scotland, and from the age of 13, the sea was his life. He was a skilled and ambitious sailor, rising quickly through the ranks of merchant ships. But his career was a mess of controversy. On one voyage, he was accused of flogging a sailor so brutally that the man later died. On another ship, he killed a mutinous crew member, claiming it was self-defense. Facing a potential murder trial, he ran. He fled to America, added Jones to his name to cover his tracks, and tried to disappear. He landed in the colonies right as the fuse of revolution was being lit. Here was Jones, a fugitive with a dark past, looking at the birth of the Continental Navy in 1775 as more than just a cause. It was his chance for a clean slate. He headed straight for Philadelphia, offered his skills, and got a commission as a first lieutenant. The Navy he joined was nothing more than a few converted merchant ships. It was a desperate time for a desperate man, and in this tiny fledgling fleet, Audacity was worth a whole lot more than a perfect reputation. Let's be honest. The Continental Navy was a joke. It was a shabby makeshift force with no real warships, usually stuck in its own harbors by the massive British Royal Navy. But John Paul Jones didn't see a hopeless mismatch. He saw a chance. Taking command of ships like the Providence, he immediately went on the offensive. He captured 8 British prize ships and sank or burned several others, terrorizing enemy fisheries. His strategy was simple and brilliant: take the fight to them. While everyone else was thinking defensively, Jones knew the best way to protect American shores was to create chaos in British waters. He wanted to force the Royal Navy to pull its ships back to defend its own home. He led daring raids on English soil, and soon his name was infamous in Britain, where the press branded him a pirate. That's exactly what he wanted. Jones understood psychological warfare long before. It was a textbook doctrine. He proved that a small aggressive force could punch far above its weight, disrupting trade, sowing fear, and shaping the forward-thinking mindset that defines the U.S. Navy to this day. His defining moment came on September 23, 1779, right off the coast of England. Jones, commanding a beat-up repurposed French merchant vessel he'd renamed the Bonhomme Richard d'I, took on the HMS Serapis, a brand-new, far superior 50-gun British frigate. The battle was a slaughter. The Bonhomme Richard was torn to shreds, its hull breached, its own cannons exploding. The ship was on fire and sinking fast. The situation looked so bad that one of Jones's own officers tried to surrender. The British captain, seeing the absolute carnage, shouted over to ask if Jones was ready to give up. From the deck of his shattered, burning ship, Jones bellowed the immortal words, "I've not yet begun to fight." What followed was 3 more hours of brutal, relentless combat. Jones rammed his sinking ship into the Serapis and lashed them together. His Marines climbed into the rigging and cleared the British decks with gunfire. Against all logic and all odds, the captain of the Serapis surrendered. Jones and his crew had to abandon their own ship, which slipped beneath the waves 2 days later, and sail home in the enemy vessel they had captured. It was a victory born of pure, stubborn will. That single battle cemented his legend. He was celebrated as a hero in France, and his reputation gave the tiny American Navy some much-needed credibility on the world stage. But his real legacy was bigger than any one fight. Jones was a visionary. He argued for a professional navy where you were promoted based on merit, not your political connections. After the revolution, his expertise was so respected that he even served for a time as a rear admiral in the Russian Navy. He pushed for faster, more powerful warships because he understood that for America to be truly independent, it needed a navy that could defend its interests across the globe. He was one of the first to grasp that America's destiny was tied to the sea. He once predicted the American Navy would rise as if by enchantment and become the wonder and envy of the world. He couldn't have been more right. Despite all his achievements, John Paul Jones was never made an admiral in the United States Navy. He died in Paris, and for just over 100 years, his grave was lost. But, in 1905, his remains were discovered, brought home by a squadron of U.S. warships, and laid to rest in a grand crypt at the U.S. Naval Academy. It was the perfect final tribute for the man they call the father of the American Navy. His audacity, his absolute refusal to surrender, and his strategic genius created the very DNA of the fleet he helped build from nothing. Stories like this prove that history is often shaped by the boldest among us. If you want more stories about the incredible figures who changed the world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's next.